Hello everyone, this is Rob Watson, the module leader for TECH3022 Social Media Practice, and in this video summary of the 16th lecture, I'm just going to talk about the topics that we're going to cover and discuss. And the aim this week is to think about literacies and the concepts, critical literacies. What do we need to know about our use of social media and our engagement with social media platforms and digital ways of working, which is perhaps different from more traditional book linear forms of learning and engagement. So we're going to start off by describing, if you like, where the kind of engagement process is for school-based literacies and what they're used to achieve, but also really open this up to an idea that the idea of literacies is itself something which is contested. It's something which lots of people have different points of views, and there's different frameworks that you can apply to literacies about knowledge transformation, about impacts and outcomes and social benefits, and all sorts of different types of discourses, conversations and discussions that go on which shape the nature of what we do. And I suppose none of our discussion about what is needed to be able to work effectively through social media and digital media practices is free from these contested frames and discussions and debates. That's what we're here to do, to engage and evaluate those debates. So the starting point for us is to open up to the idea of critical pedagogy, which is the work based on Paulo Freire, which is a kind of a pushback against the traditional linear learning model, the teacher knows best, filling up empty vessels with knowledge, which is then used in the banking model example. It's used on a rainy day to pass an exam. But learning through doing and learning through sharing and learning through exchanging, those are things which are in the traditional model of learning and literacies aren't necessarily given much precedence, but they're incredibly important. So it's where do we put a sense of reflection? Where do we put a sense of evaluation for individuals engaged in the learning process themselves, rather than it just being something where you achieve a mark and then you pass on to the next grade? You can, in my experience, over 20 years experience now of teaching, is that you can give people marks and you can grade their work, but how do you know somebody's actually learned something? And that's a very different set of questions than just being able to identify whether somebody fits within a marking scheme. So Freire talks about the idea of, rather than saying that we need to think about this in terms of a sense of problem posing, where we think through and problem solve some of the issues that relate to knowledge use, and that we break with the pattern of banking education, as Freire puts it, in terms of changing the relationship between the student and the teacher. Now, we have the technology to do this now. We maybe in the past couldn't do this, but we have wikis and blogs and social media and all sorts of digital technologies which allow us to decentralize the learning process, that we don't need to learn in the classroom. Is the lecture itself a redundant? I still quite enjoy doing lectures. I quite enjoy the thought process that it allows you to get into. It's an extended thought process. Maybe one of the constraints of social media is that the constant swiping and the constant moving from one issue to another issue undermines our ability to put forward a more extended argument and debate. And the question is, who benefits from these processes? Who is it who actually gains? And so if we open up the process, and I think this is really useful in terms of our case study, in terms of looking at how people learn about their food literacies, who is driving this? So it's a really good question. Who benefits from this? The experts, the manufacturers, the people who are trying to make money out of the process, whereas the people who use it are often excluded from the debate and the discussion, and those traditional values that people have used and built up their lives over generations are somehow, expertise with a theoretical model comes along, using a theoretical model comes along and wipes away hundreds of years of tradition and local knowledge, tacit knowledge, and overturns what people's expectations are. But in the long view, it makes things worse rather than making things better. So we kind of have to think about, what is it that we're asking people to engage with? And there's a kind of sense at the moment that what we really get out of people in terms of managing social change and social behaviour is a kind of collectivism. Is that you can just like something. Yeah, my intention is to give up sugar and to have a better diet. I like that article, or I'll share that article by somebody. But when it comes to actually putting it in practice and living in a world that is, and encouraging other people around you to share the discussion and the engagement that makes it possible for us to actually put these things into practice, that's something completely different altogether. It isn't something which is easily managed. So we'll look at some examples about how protest and change, because I want to cover in another lecture about digital activism and some issues about that. So I suppose the question is, are we being manipulated, or do we have the skills and the knowledge and the capability and the expertise and the experience and the evaluation of what we do to be able to challenge and to change? And that's really kind of where the literacies and skills idea comes in. So the notes for this are up on the DMU Commons wiki. Just go to wiki.our.dmu.ac.uk and look for the TECH3022 section. If you want to carry on any of the conversation about this, go to talk@dmu.ac.uk and just add a new topic or add to one of the existing topics. If you want to share your blogs, if you want to share any articles, those kind of things, that's what the talk function is for. But I'll see you at the lecture.